Ari is on the left. Both players at 8-0. No draws, going for 9-0. And Ari's going to start off the game on a jungle hollow.
Ari said he has not been thrilled with his level of play thus far, though when we had him on camera, he seemed like he had a really solid grasp of the format.
Yeah, 2 life gain lands into each other. This is something that a lot of the 5-color decks do. Their turn 1 and turn 2 plays generally just tend to be fetch lands. And we'll see what Ian is up to. This is a Seeker of the Way, one of the better threats you can lay out early in the game.
Well, you know, any 2-drop is good when your opponent's playing 5 colors because you just want to be aggressive, and Seeker of the Way might be the best of the bunch. I mean, I don't know of a better 2-drop to have on turn 2.
And Seeker of the Way is going to swing in. A 3rd land from Ari is untapped. He had no play, though. No morph as of yet. Right now, we have Obzon colors from Farnung as he adds an Einok Bondkin to his aggro plan.
A great opening here for Ian. And we'll see if there's any. There is no Death Frenzy in Ari's list. That's one of the first things I check for when I see 5 colors square off against these small creature aggressive lists.
Yeah. And Ari does not have a play just yet, and he's going to start taking some damage here. He went down to 20, he had gained his way up to 22, but now he's going to be dropped below 20. He's on to 16 from that attack, and Unyielding Krumar is the play from Farnung. Still no plays on Laxicide. And yeah, you're wondering if he's setting up for a sweeper here.
And I'm checking out here Ian's list. First thing I go to are the gold cards, and he has got some hits. 2 copies of Obzon Guide, an Armament Core, a Dune Blast, and a Siege Rhino. That's a really high quality allotment of Obzon gold cards.
Yeah, other than that though, just a 3-color deck. 5th land from Ari, still no plays. And all right, if you're Ian, you're pretty suspicious at this point, aren't you?
I don't think that at this stage, this is a juicy enough spot where if Ari had End Hostilities plus the 2nd white mana, he would have cast it on this board. He doesn't need to get a 4th creature out of this. So I'm either wondering, does he not have End Hostilities in his hand or his deck, or is he missing the 2nd white mana? But I don't believe that he's slow rolling it right now. If it's in his hand, he can't cast it.
Swing here. This is going to be for 7. Will Ari go to 9 or really cast a spell? It's going to be Crackling Doom on Ari's side.
And now I definitely don't believe in the possibility of End Hostilities because, you know, if End Hostilities was in Ari's hand, Crackling Doom is one of the best leftovers you can leave because it answers the next threat.
Takes care of the Unyielding Krumar. Ari does take 4 more, though. He'll go down to 12. And another Unyielding Krumar from Farnung. And really just aggroing him with creatures. Can Ari survive up to something like a Dune Blast? He plays land number 6 here. And the best part about the card like Dune Blast is if Ari has it, he can go ahead and play a creature into it right now.
And I'm looking over Ian's list here, and you know, I mentioned the Siege Rhino, the 2 copies of Obzon Guide. These are quality cards, but he's not really cranking out a lot of power. There's not a ton of rares in this list. It's just a really solid curve, and you're seeing it on display right now. A Murderous Cut, very efficient.
Long Shot Squad was the play from Ari. He'll try to shore up this board. It's a 3/3 here, so it won't be able to block the Krumar. And if Ian has a spell, it would be trading with Seeker of the Way as well. We'll see just what Ian wants to do here. You have to think he could level up. He has a lot of options. He could level up the Bondkin. He could just all-out attack. A lot of ways to push damage.
Well, with Ari at 12, he likely has to block no matter what. I mean, if Ian sends in everything, Ari does not have the luxury of saying, well, no blocks because I'm playing around a trick here. He's too low already. So Ian knows that he can't really bluff in this spot because Ari is compelled to call no matter because of the way the board looks right now.
And Ian's going to go and make the big board commitment here. This is Armament Core. And what a huge Armament Core here because of that passive ability from Einok Bondkin. All of Ian's creatures are going to have first strike.
This is what we call a synergy.
So he swings all the creatures, including the Krumar. This means Ari can trade the Long Shot Squad for the Krumar if he cares to, because Ian does not have the mana up to give him first strike. Ari's going to go to 3. It looks like, and this smells
Dune
like a
Blast.
Dune.
This has to be Dune Blast. We'll see if he can cast it.
And he did not, I believe he had it, but did not hit the untapped land for it.
And Ian now has to believe that it's in the list because there's no way he runs a no block there otherwise.
Yeah, he had the option to trade with the Krumar. Yeah, Ari's clearly playing to that out. Doesn't hit it, and game one goes into Farnung's favor.
It's very cool to see, Ian's list here, which is just a lot of solid stuff, Not blowing you away with raw power, though there are some very good cards, as I mentioned before. And, most of the time you look at decks at 8-0 and you assume that there's just a huge pile of rares and mythics and perfect mana, and that's not always the case. I mean, there are some mediocre cards in here. He has things like a Sagu Archers as his only green card, a Sidisi's Pet, low-impact cards, just trying to keep the mana as good as possible. He does have some things like Doom Blast and Siege Rhino. That's where the bulk of his power is coming from, but it is not all bombs here. There are definitely some low-power cards in this list.
Yeah, 2 Sage Eye Harrier. That's not a great threat. What I think Ian's deck does do and does really well is that looks like it curves out very well. But in turns 2, 3, 4, you can expect Ian to be playing 2, if not 3 creatures.
With these decks that don't have a ton of power, the key has to be curving out.
Right. He does have, and it'll be interesting to see if he brings this in here. One card that Ian has that I actually really like against these slow, grindy 5-color decks is he has a Dragon Throne of Tarkir in the sideboard. So if you're not familiar with this card, this is a 4-mana rare artifact, and to say it's slow is an understatement. But if you can get it going, it wins.
So I don't know if I'm actually offhand familiar with this one.
We'll pull it up right here. So the downside to this card is that it takes 9 mana before it does anything.
Oh, this is super slow. Oh my goodness.
But it wins. It wins.
Yeah, no, this is good enough to win. Definitely good enough to win on its own if the game is played at an extremely slow pace.
Yeah, and I'll be interested. So when Ari's playing a deck that has virtually no creatures in the first 6 turns, does this seem like a reasonable sideboard plan for you? It certainly makes Ari would have to answer all the creatures at this point.
Well, I feel like even if I'm in Ian's seat, even though Ari's 5-color and those decks are going to be a little slower, I still feel like he must have just been missing tools in his opening hand. There's no way that his deck is legitimately passing on turn 3, 4, and 5 on a regular basis.
Yeah. So I wonder if there's a chance he hasn't included it in his main deck, and that seems probably correct. There are a lot of decks where you could never touch a card like this.
Yes.
But I have seen, I don't know, I'll be interested to see whether or not we see players do something like board just that higher power thing in. It's interesting because, so you can't compete with the 5-color decks on card power generally because that's their game plan, right? So you can play this lesser powered deck, but a card like this, this one card can be more powerful than basically Ari's entire hand at any given point.
The conflict there, you have to weigh that against what is this doing to my curve? What is this doing if Ari's draw is very removal heavy and he's able to, keep me off my, either not let my board build up or regularly mess up my tempo by killing the guy I'm trying to move this to in response. So it's definitely powerful if the things break the right way, but there's also a lot that can go wrong.
We'll see. Maybe if he can also just sneak under the deck again. We'll see if he can pull that one off. Ari there with a hand. I'm not sure what all the pieces were in it. Looks like he was building up toward Dune Blast, had a fair amount of mana, but yeah, didn't have the curve of creatures that you'd normally want.
Did very little. I mean, wasn't really playing to the board at all, wasn't casting anything, not even morphs. Very odd game one there from Ari.
Yeah, he does have a lot of things. I suppose you could have some of these delve cards. If you start drawing them, they can be pretty dead in the early game. Things like Sultai Scavenger are really unappealing a lot of the time.
Yes. Not a card you can always cast on time, and also not even that great of a card if you're playing it ahead of schedule when you're the player trying to block.
All right, well, Ari will be on the play again. Starts off on a life gain land. We'll just trade some lands back. Ian with only 3 non-basics in his list. So
it's very clean.
Yeah, despite being a 3-color deck, he had to. His mana may actually be weaker than Ari's. And Ari here looks like he's stuck on 2 lands.
And Ian's deck, if game one was any indicator, is going to be pretty unforgiving about this sort of stuff.
Ian's going to play a morph. It's Witness of the Ages. Ari draws again, misses for a second time. There is a witness in his hand. It actually may be a different morph. He's going to swing for 2 and put Ari to 19. And a lot of choice of morphs here from Ian. And Ian doesn't have land 4 either, so you see Ari brick land 3 another time. Discards Treasure Cruise. Ari's under some pressure, but Ian's not going to be doing much other than making morphs.
And if Ari fires back, it's likely to be with morphs of his own, and he's still not going to be in a great position to block.
Yeah, no play from Ian. He passes back. And Ari could not...
Never mind what I said.
Yeah, Ari plays a land, immediately slams it. Could not play faster. This is a Tusk Guard Captain. The most important part about this card, it's a 2/3.
Price to move in the morph format, man.
Oh, man.
Heirloom Minotaurs never looked so good.
Yeah, 2/3 for 3. Never mind that it actually has an ability on top of that.
Ari's going to be playing a lot of defense. I'd be surprised if this was outlasting very much for the time being.
Yeah, 4th land from Farnung. He now has double white, double black. Does not have access yet to his green cards. See if he has a way to swing through this. He's light on combat tricks, actually. If Ian can get to 5 mana, he can start doing things like unmorph this Witness of the Ages. But instead, he has no way to break through a 2/3. Just plays Unyielding Krumar.
And Ari with back-to-back lands, he could not slam down land number 4 quickly enough. And you can see he's sitting up in his seat, man. He's starting to feel like he can come back into this one, even though it was looking pretty helpless there early on.
Yeah, and he plays Sultai Flare. This is a card I've really liked in Sealed. We haven't seen too much of it on camera yet today. But if you are... This guy gains a ton of life.
And a great body, too.
Yeah. 3/4 for 4. When he dies, or any of your other big creatures die, you gain 4 life. It's not unreasonable to see this card gain 12, even 16 life over the course of a game.
And for the time being, it's also alongside this 2/3 very effectively holding down the fort.
Right. And it's going to be Murderous Cut, paid at full price on the Sultai Flare. And so Ari gains 4, then Ian has to swing for 3. Ari actually nets 1 life point for that turn. And he's back up to 17 off of tapped land.
Does not help Ari's colored mana situation, as he's already got green and black covered, but still starting to be able to get things like Doom Blast, starting to be able to get to his removal spells.
Yeah. You see Ari with a morph there. He does have some things he can't cast here. It looks like he has Smite the Monstrous. That one's fine, but he has Crackling Doom as well in his hand. He's actually going to level up the Tusk Guard Captain. Plays a morph and is going to take an opportunity here to get a 3/4. That will hold off Ian's entire team, but it means that this turn could be pretty painful.
And he kind of had to do this to some extent, because if he doesn't have an answer to the Unyielding Krumar right now, what other alternatives does he have?
Yeah, and Ian with a huge play. It's Debilitating Injury on that morph. And a tap land, the Jungle Hollow, that's gaining life for Ian, but more importantly, it turns on his green cards. And it'll be a swing for 7, placing Ari down to 10.
It looked like Ari was starting to get out of this, but the game is quickly collapsing here. Ari needs some significant places to keep this board stable.
Makes me wonder what morphs Ian's are. He did have the requisite 5 mana there, so a lot of times I would have expected him just to swing both morphs and go ahead and, challenge Ari to block, maybe Debilitating Injury at post-combat.
It's possible he has respect for whatever Ari's morph could be.
That's very possible. Longshot Squad is the play for Ian, or for Ari, rather. It's a 3/3, also with Outlast. Does give reach to the Tusk Guard Captain. None of Ian's cards fly right now, but he does have some morphs that could unmorph and fly. And Ari at 10. He's not out of the woods mainly because of his colored mana situation here.
Yes.
He has a Smite the Monstrous in hand, but I believe the rest of his hand is uncastable at the moment.
But Doom Blast can always get Ari back in this game, as long as he's able to keep 1 creature in play.
Yeah. Both players actually with Doom Blasts here, interestingly enough.
But Ari's is much better than Ian's is, because Ari's entire game plan is about getting to Doom Blast. For Ian, it's just some incidental power.
It's just this really good card that he happens to be running. And here is Siege Rhino from Farnung. That'll put Ari down to 7. And it'll put Ian up 3 more life. No attacks from Ian. He's not actually able to break through Ari's board just yet.
And again, a spot where Ian can't even bluff, because Ari has to block no matter what.
Ari draws land 7. Plays a morph. Now just left with the Smite and the Crackling Doom in hand. He does have 4 mana up for the Smite. Chooses not to outlast either of his creatures. Just has right now a 3/4 and 3/3 wall that he's hoping to ride through this assault from Ian.
Can't afford to outlast at this spot, and he just needs to keep as much of his board intact as possible to hope that Doom Blast is a live draw.
And no bluffs anywhere here. Ian's just going to play this one straight up. Swings a Siege Rhino and 1 morph. And this is always a thing where I never, why I feel my opponent's playing straight up is when you swing 1 morph and not the second one. Ari's going to double block the Siege Rhino and single block the morph with Tuskguard Captain. Remember, he does have Smite the Monstrous.
And this is a great block from Ari because if Ian tries to play over the top of this double block with a pump spell on the Siege Rhino, let's say, the Smite the Monstrous is awesome. And if Ian unmorphs the morph here into something big enough to play over the top of the 3/4, well, that has to be a 4/4, and then Smite the Monstrous covers that as well. So it gives him a lot of insurance and the possibility of blowing Ian out if he gets too greedy with playing pump spells inside of combat.
Yeah, and this is probably, he morphs Witness of the Ages. And I'd say Ari's pretty much locked into Smite the Monstrous here. I don't think it's a good play. Ari may not be that happy about it simply because Witness of the Ages as a vanilla 4/4 is probably one of the worst cards you could be Smite the Monstrous-ing.
He also risked losing the game, most likely to Feat of Resistance on that block too, the way everything shook out.
And Ari with the draw here. It will be Archer's Parapet. Taps, then retaps. We don't know Ari's morph just yet. Levels up Tuskguard Captain again. Now it's a 4/5. And a lot of tools in Farnung's hand. He has Sultai Scavenger as well as Kill Shot here.
This would also not be a bad turn for Dune Blast.
I feel like that's been a recurring statement on both sides of this match. Yeah. Boy, Doom Blast would be pretty great right here.
Well, if both players have Doom Blast, you want to be the one Doom Blasting first.
I could get behind that. All right, we'll see what Ian does. It's going to be a swing with both creatures. Ari's going to play it straight up. Morph in front of Morph. Parapet in front of Krumar. Ian's content to let the Morphs trade, maybe. We'll see here. He's actually going to flip it into Sagu Archer. And Ari is probably going to unmorph his creature, I would think. No, he's actually going to lose it. It was Ponyback Brigade.
Yeah, he only had 4 mana up, so not a lot that he can unmorph into to play over the top, and not a lot of that Ponyback Rider, not really worth a lot with his red mana situation, although he immediately draws out.
Yeah, I was going to say, there's the red mana. Ari back up to A tier. And the scary part here is Ari's down to 1 card. It's Crackling Doom. He has reached parity on the board, but Ian has a 6-card hand.
You have to, if you're Ari here, you have to feel like good. Even Dune Blast may not be enough to get him out of this game because Ian's just so far ahead on cards.
Right now, the Crackling Doom, even when Ari plays it, would just nab the Unyielding Krumar. Land for Ian. And he looks, with 6, he may play Sultai Scavenger just at face value. Or he'll play Doom Blast.
Sure.
As like we said before, great time for Doom Blast, as always.
Although, Ari does have an Edict left over in his hand here, so if he draws a substantial creature, he may be able to, never mind.
Yeah, second, remember how that guy costs 1 if you play him late enough. Sultai Scavenger was the last card for Farnung.
Now things have gotten really bad for Ari.
You're going to say, yeah, he could just Edict it and play a creature and we'd be okay. And Ari, we'll see what he drew here. Looks like he has a creature of his own. Crackling Doom and a green card. It is, or not a green card, it is his own Sultai Scavenger. He actually had to decide between how much he wanted to scavenge here, and he scavenged for the minimum amount.
Yeah, he still got his Crackling Doom mana up.
And it's Armament Core from Farnung. Crackling Doom should get this guy pretty well, depending on how Ian distributes the counters. If he distributes, imagine there'll be 1-1, so it'll make everything a 4-4.
Yeah, that's the problem here. Is then Ian has the option of just sacrificing the armament core, and Ari is forced to chump block.
So Ari almost, and you'd say in response, Ari needs to Crackling Doom in response here.
I think that Ari can't win unless Ian messes up where the tokens go. So I think Ari needs to let it resolve.
And hope he puts 2 on one of them.
Exactly. That's his only shot here because this is, playing the Crackling Doom in response does not get it done.
I'm going to draw here from Ari, and that'll be it. Ian Farnung defeats Ari Lax, and he goes 9-0 for an undefeated day 1 in Sealed.
Very impressive, a very solid 3-color deck. The Siege Rhino, the Doom Blast, those stand out, but there's a lot of filler in Ian's deck too. It's not all hits, but a very aggressive curve of creatures, some power, and that was enough to get him through a perfect day, which is very impressive.
Yeah, I think a very good tool to do so. As you mentioned, the deck was consistent. It was not full of heavy-powered cards. It was a consistent 3-color curve of creatures, but then at the top, it did have the 2 game enders, the Siege Rhino and the Doom Blast, which could carry the day when the fair game plan didn't work.
And if you're on Ari's side, I feel like I would have to be pretty happy with an 8-1 performance out of that deck. He obviously had a lot of power, but his mana, even though he was happy with the mana base, only getting tripped up one match over the course of the day, which is basically what happened here. Had some mana issues, and the pieces just didn't quite line up the right way. You still got to be happy with an 8-1 performance with a deck that, though good, by no means spectacular.
Yeah, I would have to agree. We agree here. So.